Welcome to the Reschool'd podcast, the show that discusses all the things that schools may have missed, with your hosts AJ Kuti and Jason Gordon. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. We are the Reschool'd podcast, the show that discusses all the things that schools may not have prepared you for. I am AJ. Jason, how you doing today?
Hanging in there, AJ. It was a good weekend. How about you?
It was a good weekend. I actually went to a concert this weekend. It was a pretty good concert. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Who'd you see?
It's a country act. Mitchell Tenpenny and Tyler Braden.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah. Tenpenny had a recent number one. What was it?
Yeah, Truth About You, I think.
Yeah.
It was really good. And I love the acts where, you go to see one person, but the opening act is so good too, that you kind of learn about this new kind of up and comer.
Well, that's part of that. I spend a lot of time on career models, like how you make it in certain closed careers.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm actually writing a lot of stuff on music and film and things like that in terms of basically how career paths work. And getting onto a tour is one of the core aspects, right? So much is going away from just the traditional what the label can do for you, other than get your name out there via an early tour, So getting on early with a tour is everything. So you're gonna like that the opening act, whoever it was, for a long time, just because of that experience,
Well, and it's funny because me standing there, my background in accounting, I'm trying to think, man, count how many people are in here, how much tickets cost, how much they're making for a few hours of work. That we're seeing. Obviously, I know there's background stuff, but yeah, I mean, it's that paying your dues. It's the same. It's not, you're not going to just jump right in.
So funny story. I was sitting on a train in Upper New York and sat beside an accountant who focused just on Broadway shows.
Oh wow!
Her firm, that's all they did was auditing for Broadway shows, and she was giving me some of the industry statistics. I had a million questions about how they make money and stuff, and believe it or not, these smaller acts don't make much money at all off of their performances. By comparison, what you think, you add up the ticket value and the number of people there. They don't make that kind of money. Most of that goes to the venue. Merchandise is a huge thing for them, though.
So it's interesting you say that, because I was asking a lot of questions to a buddy of mine who kind of knows that side of it, and he said the act come in when the acts come into this place, the artists get more or less, they get 100% of the tickets, the value of the tickets, and the venue gets the alcohol sales. They get food and
alcohol sales.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so
I read that about the AMC theaters, right? That's been in the news a lot. They get almost nothing off the movies.
Really?
There's a revenue sharing. Yeah, you get almost zero off the movies anymore. The strength of the studio's negotiating power, especially the big movies, first 2 weeks, is almost exclusively to them. After the first 2 weeks, there's a revenue sharing that gradually slides as a higher percentage to the theaters. So movie theaters make almost all of their revenue on concessions.
That's crazy.
So,
wow.
And that's why, something drops in the theater, it's there 1 month, because after 1 month, it doesn't bring anybody in anymore. Theaters don't want to carry it, so they push it on out.
That's true. Wow. The stuff that you learn on this episode that has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about today. Today's episode.
What do you want to talk about?
Today, we're going to go back to a previous series, like we normally do. We kind of bounce around after we get one established. But we're going to go back to the Tips and Tricks series, which seems to be a really, really popular one among our listeners. And so in this one, we're going to be talking about one. I think we've had this on the docket for almost since the beginning, because we've been looking forward to this. But I think it's one of those things that we've been so excited about doing it that we've kind of pushed it off to kind of reap the benefit later. Because I've looked more forward to this one than probably any of the other ones we've done. We're going to be talking about how to get and to stay on the professor's good side as a student.
We're going to tell people how to suck up to us.
This is the behind the scenes. Gold. Yeah, we're giving them behind the scenes. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to see, especially because I'm going to be giving it from my side. You're going to be giving it from your side, and we tend to have two different personalities too. So it could be different in that sense too. So you looking forward to it as much as I am?
Absolutely. Before we do, remind everybody, reschool.com. That's reschool with a D, not an ED, reschool.com. Check us out. We're amazing. Okay.
Not to pat ourselves on
It's
the
all
back
the old,
anymore.
there you go. It's all the old episodes. It's a way to contact us. It's, you want to propose something for an episode, you want to get a shout out on the air, just let us know. That's the place to find us. Of course, it links to your typical podcasting apps where you'll find our stuff. But as much as anything, just look through our directory, see, our stuff never gets old. It's always going to be relevant. So check it out. And again, if you can, please share us, like us, all that kind of stuff on your favorite podcasting app, because that's important to us.
What's that movie? You like us. You really like
Please.
us.
Yeah.
All right, quick question. Were you, this is going to get heavy right here. Were you a teacher's pet?
Not growing up. That didn't happen until I got into my major. And then when I got into my major in college, I became a teacher's pet in some of the classes.
Sure.
So yeah, it did. It happened. I got too wrapped up in it. Did you ever become the teacher's pet, or did you start that way and then fade out?
I started that way. So
Okay.
When I was growing up, I was, well, one, and I've said this on many episodes, I have ADHD. And so my mind, and it went undiagnosed for a good while. I didn't know it until I wasn't diagnosed until I was in high school. So going through elementary school, going through middle school, I used to get in trouble a ton in class. Like we used to have this thing. We had now they have more colors, but they had red light, yellow light, green light, and you had these little markers that you had to move. You start on green, and if you get something wrong, you go to yellow, and if you did, you moved to red, and red was like the ultimate one where you got serious trouble. I can count on probably two hands how many times I came home on green in a single year. I'd never stayed on green because I could not keep my mouth shut. I was always talking to people around me. I was that student where the teacher's like, okay, I'm going to show you. I want to move you away from your friends. And I could talk to anybody. And so I'd still get in trouble. But the way I guess I compensated for that, because I was also a class clown, is I tried to get on the teacher's good side. I like I said, with ADHD, you tend to speak before you think. And so I would say something and it would to get a rise of the class. And if I wasn't on the teacher's good side, if I wasn't kind of somewhat of a teacher's pet, then I would get in a whole lot of trouble for being smart, smart aleck. But if I can get on their good side, I can get them to joke around with us. And so I almost felt like I had to compensate for my lack of attention, lack of being serious. I had to compensate with charm to try to get them to at least understand where I'm coming from, like me. So I do feel like I was that teacher's pet until I got to college, and I still had really good relationships with all of my professors, but it wasn't because I tried to charm them to do it. Is because my dad was the dean of School of Business, and he was already friends with them. I mean, I saw most of them. The ones that I had good relationships with, I saw, they would come over, we would get together with them, and so I kind of already knew them. But yeah, early on, man, I can remember back some of the stuff that I'd say. The teacher would ask a question, I would say some smart aleck comment, and now looking back, I'm like, what was I thinking? But I was good enough to suck up to the teacher.
Did you ever get caught? Did you ever get in trouble for anything like that?
I mean, there was a couple times, like there was just, everybody has those teachers. It didn't matter how hard you tried or how good you were at charming them. You weren't going to be a teacher's pet because they didn't have a teacher's pet.
They were a wall. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And yeah, I got in trouble many times. And my parents were not overly thrilled with it. I was their first, so I was the trial child. But yeah, it was fun. Again, at the time, I look back and it was fun because I was able to play around and have these good relationships. And I do think it's actually worked to my benefit now because I can have conversations and be comfortable with people that are outside of the norm. I can get people to lower their boundaries. I can get people to, I think I've spoke about this before. Like I sat at a roundtable discussion with CEOs of Fortune 100 companies. And when everybody else was asking these really professional questions, that's not me. I didn't care about what their answers were to those really professionals. And most of the students who were asking them didn't have that they didn't care. They just wanted to look like they cared. And me, I want to know them more on a personal level. So I asked them a personal question. And the CEO of Walmart came up to me and was like, "Hey, I've never been asked that before, but that was an awesome question. I loved it." And we had a great
That's
conversation.
awesome.
So yeah, I mean it's worked in my benefit. So I'm not telling people to strive to be teacher's pet, but try to get on their good graces. It's good. It can have benefits.
Yeah. Well, let's tell. Well, you ready to jump in
let's
and
jump
tell
in.
them why that's there, or how anyway?
Yeah. Well, let's start with the why. So
okay.
Obviously, I'm sure students have talked about this before, but they probably haven't heard it from the professor's side. So we're getting them kind of behind the scenes from the professor's side. Why is it important, or why would you say it's important for students to get on the professor's good side?
Well, so whatever your objective is, right? If it's to pass the class, if it is to get the grade you're looking for, is it to learn about something in particular? All of those things are strongly linked to the professor's efforts. And just like any job, we are going to put in additional effort or focus our effort on what we think matters the most. And if you let us know the things you care about, it looks like you are engaged in these things where oftentimes others aren't. They're just soaking things up. We have a lot of ability to orient the way the class goes to learn what you want. We have the ability to offer additional explanation to you or focus on helping you learn whatever you want to. And sometimes that might just be making a better grade in the class, which means, yes, we will help you focus in on things that, you're learning in the class. We'll give you additional explanation. I don't want to say professors will give you any special favoritism. It's just if you're the one who asks for something and we have the ability to give it, that's part of the learning environment. We will.
Yeah.
But, you wait to the end and you have no relationship with the professor, and then all of a sudden you have requests or you have complaints about something in the class. Well, that kind of falls on deaf ears because you could have brought that up a lot earlier, right? Yeah. You could have let us know. You could have made us aware. You could have been involved. You could have done any of these things, but you didn't, right? And so anyway, bottom line, whatever your objective in the class is, the professor can help you reach it. So use that resource. It's just like networking, right? It's just a very captive environment you're in. So anyway, I don't know. What do you think, AJ?
Your part about they don't show favoritism, I agree with that to a point, because I don't think when you get on the good graces of your professor, they're not going to give you outright favoritism. But a lot of times in the grading system, the structure that they have in class, there's usually this area in there that's some kind of subjectivity. So it's not like a hardcore grade from your test or anything, but there's like a professionalism or something like that. And that allows for flexibility for the professor to use the intangibles that they see the students, portray or give in the class, and increase grades where they feel it needs to be. So it's not favoritism; it's just justification as to why they think this person deserves this extra bump if they need it. So if you're within a point or two. Typically in my class, if you're within a point of the next letter grade, I go back and look and see how, not necessarily on the good graces, granted, these things that we're going to be talking about here in a minute, they naturally put you in the good graces of the professor, but they also let me know that you're trying. And so that's kind of what I value. So yeah, it could help you with your grade. It can also...
out there, if you've ever wondered why professors build in participation points.
Yeah.
It is just for that reason.
Absolutely. It's crazy that the students, the way, I don't think students put enough attention or take enough time when they go in and look at their grading system of the class. That to me is probably one of the they see it, go, okay, this is, I have these many tests and stuff, but they don't actually break it down.
Mm-hmm.
And when you break it down, you actually learn a whole lot of strategy when it comes to that class. My class right now, I've told my students right now, there is, of the 100% grade of their final grade, okay, 45% of it is from their exams.
Mm-hmm.
They just had their first exam too, so this is not coming at the beginning of the semester, which granted, I told them this too because I got tired of students not realizing this. 45% of the grade comes from 3 exams. So 15, 15, 15. Okay. The other 55% comes from a combination of homework, which the homework can be done as many times as you want to make as high a grade as you want. I take the highest attempt. So essentially, you should be getting 100 on every homework. 30% comes from a smart book assignment, which is just based on completion. Did you complete the assignment? Not necessarily correct, but did you complete it? And it's just a reading assignment. And granted, I give 30% because it's kind of lengthy, but it's a reading assignment and you answer some questions. And then the last 10% is from professionalism. So as long as you come to class on time, you participate in class, and you conduct yourself in a professional manner, that's 55% of your grade. There's no reason why you shouldn't have 100 on that side, which means if you do the math, if you make on the 3 exams, if you make a 33, a 33, and a 33, you pass the class with a 70.
Yeah.
All you have to do is pass with a 33 on 3 exams. That's not hard.
That is a very low bar to jump over.
Yeah, but yet they don't see it. I have students right now that's failing the class because they're not putting in the effort of the 55. And so it's something that going back to the topic, which is getting on the professor's good side, they put them on the syllabus for a reason. And getting on getting in the good graces of the professor, they could probably open that door for you a little bit wider to explain it a little bit better for you, if you're there. Now, the problem is if you don't care, then they tend to not care. So you do have to you need to put in the effort. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I've over the years I've run into the same thing, and I actually do the math at the very beginning for them, and I try to say, focus here. Look, please put the effort. Do this. It's not about knowledge; it's about effort.
Yeah.
And you still, it's still an uphill battle.
Yeah.
You're like, come on, man, you could so easily pass this class. All you got to do is just work, do a little bit of work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, and sometimes professors don't go out of their way to tell you those things. They assume, usually wrongfully, but they assume that this is something you would know or pick up, that you could do the simple math of, oh, if I make this on this, too easy. I mean, certainly, I think you and I, we were both very calculated in how we put in our effort in school and stuff like that. So we
use strategy just as much.
Yeah, we knew coming through, but not all students do. So anyway, if you want to, again, take full advantage of your relationship with the professor, you want to pass the class, you want to get a good grade, just that, the fact that they're going to explain to you the best way to make certain you get a good grade in the class.
Yep.
And it may seem obvious, but it's not that obvious, right? So have them to tell you, have them to focus on it. And 2, if you explain certain things to them and what you're doing, and you want to work on a specific type of project in the class, or you want to whatever, that can prepare the professor to look for what you say you're doing. And if they're assessing, your progress and things like that, it makes a difference in how we grade what we're seeing from you. It might be a little different in accounting, right? But there are certainly assignments that are very, personal in nature, and they have so much value to you. We can assess them a little differently. So anyway, all those things considered, making a connection with your professor is going to help you reach whatever goal you have for the class, unless your goal is failing the class.
So I got a question for you. Have you ever been in a position where you're grading a test and you get to a student's paper, or you get to the end? I don't know if you look at the name of the on the test first before you grade or after. I tend to try to go after. But after you get to the end and you've graded it, then you see the student, and this student is somebody that you know really well. You've got to know, and you've seen the effort they put in there, and the grade is not matching where you thought it would be. So you go back and you look at their test to make sure you didn't do something wrong.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, man, I do.
I'm
that.
like, they try. I know they know this. They spoke up in class. They knew this. Like, why did they answer this incorrectly?
Yeah.
So it'll make me go back and relook at it and say, what happened here? Did I assess this correctly?
Yeah, exactly.
But sometimes, I think sometimes there's just a disconnect.
Yeah, sometimes.
Right?
But I do find myself, like, I'll catch myself going, wow, I'm shocked. I need to go back and make sure I didn't do something wrong.
Mm-hmm. It's normally my non-traditional students.
Yep.
They always want a relationship with you.
Yeah.
They always want to, they explain their situation and they want to learn as much as they can. And you can tell they try and work so hard, and then they don't, they take an exam or something like that and they don't make a good grade. And you're like, wow,
Yeah.
I know you probably have more knowledge of this than anybody else in the class. Like, why did you not make the good grade?
Yep.
So
can students go too far in trying to get on the good side of professors?
Yeah. It can go overboard because I've had situations before where basically the teacher's pet just stayed under you the entire time. They're always asking you questions, always wanting to be involved in everything, always. And honestly, to the point that it was distracting for the rest of the class, meaning that they ask you questions constantly in class or want to go off on a tangent that a personal discussion that you've had with them about their understanding or their project or their material, and the rest of the class, that's not relevant to them, but they want to talk about it during class or they want to do things like that. And then honestly, in a way, it makes you want to avoid the student. Yeah. You're like, I have a meeting after this class. I can't have you come to my office and talk to me for 2 hours. Right.
Yeah.
Because, I was one that was always felt bad about in any way kicking a student out of my office if they wanted to come talk. But I routinely got in these scenarios where students would just pop by and then just wanted to chit chat for an hour and a half. And I'm like, I'm at work.
Yeah.
I have so much work to do. There are other student meetings. There's grading, there's research, there's everything that has to be done. Let me do my job.
Yeah.
But
I agree. I mean, I do think there's and it gets to the point where there are times where students go overboard and we can tell that they're doing it simply for the purpose of trying to get on your good side. Like they're not trying in class. They're trying simply for the purpose of getting on your good side or, trying to suck up to you. So, all right, well, let's get into the tips and tricks. Let's go through some lists of stuff. We don't have to go. I think we've probably got a few of these, so we don't have to go too far in depth with these because we want to have time for all of them. But like I said, I love this topic. This has probably been one of the ones that I've looked forward to the most. So, you want to start or you want me to?
I'll lead off. Why not?
Go ahead.
So, tips for getting on the professor's good side. Early on, at the beginning, okay, there's a lot of people in the class. The professor probably doesn't know any of them. At best, just a handful of students, maybe from past classes and things like that. Introduce yourself. Even if you think the professor knows you because you've had a class with them before or spoken with them before, we meet so many students and hear so many stories and that type of thing. Go up, talk to the professor again, make certain you introduce yourself fully and, hey, remember I came by your office, we talked about this that time, or we both are interested in this, that type of thing. Go ahead and do that introduction again and set the semester, quarter, whatever you're under, set that off the right way, establishing again the nature of the relationship that you want with the professor. Okay. If you want to remind them that you have some common interest in terms of, college football, right? It's something outside of class. If you want to remind them again of what your career goals and career path is so that, this is something the professor keeps in mind when they talk to you, that type of thing. That was always something that was really important to me. I wanted to know or be reminded of what your aspirations are and where you're going, because that made a huge difference in how I dealt with you and the things that we talked about, right? Because, I knew the things you wanted and I kept an eye out and constantly thought towards things as to how what we were doing would help you. So there you go. Introduce yourself early. Establish the relationship early.
I have a feeling our tips and tricks list is actually, it's going to be divided almost naturally. I'm interested to see if this happens, but I think most of yours are probably going to be, here's the things you do. And I think most of mine are going to be, here's the things you don't do. Like, here's the things you don't want to do because it's going to take you off the good side. It's going to leave a bad taste in the professor's mouth. Because that's typically where my mind went when I saw this. My first one, and this probably is one of the biggest pet peeves for professors across the board, is in the beginning, don't email us about stuff that's in the syllabus.
Oh, yes.
Don't email us questions that you didn't come to the first class, so you missed if they go over the syllabus in the first day, and you didn't read the syllabus, and email stuff that is just direct. It's not encrypted in the syllabus. Like, it is stated verbatim, what you're asking, but yet you haven't read it, so you email me, and then typically I go, you need to refer to your syllabus.
And don't stop there, folks. If we give you assignment sheets that explain to you exactly what we want out of an assignment, before you begin asking about that assignment, read the assignment sheet.
That's crazy how that works, isn't it?
I know. I cannot tell how many times over the years I have gotten questions about, what do you want for this assignment? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, what was unclear in the assignment sheet? I mean, I think I answered that question like first paragraph. Like, what? And they're like, oh, there's an assignment sheet. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, did you not read the syllabus? Do you know what we are graded on or assessed on in this class? I mean, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. That one's a big one.
Drive me. There's shirts out there now that says it's in the syllabus.
I wish I could get away with wearing that to school every day. It's in the syllabus.
Yeah. All right, what's your number 2?
Okay, so I'm going to go with getting on the good side again. Okay. Make certain that prior to the grading, prior to an exam, prior to an assessment, if you have any level of curiosity, any level of confusion, anything like that about the format of the exam, about what's going to be covered, about all of those things, go talk to the professor about it in advance. Do not wait till the test is over.
Freaking men.
And then come to you and say, I didn't know this. I didn't know this. I was confused about this. I was like, there was a really easy way you could have cleared up any confusion. Number 1 would have been reading the syllabus.
Oh, yeah, right? Yeah, of course.
But part 2 is, if there was still a question, even after that, I was right here every day. Please come by and ask. Don't come by after the fact and ask for special privileges or special consideration because of something, right? That's actually,
that was one of mine. Don't ask for help. And I'm looking at not from the makeup of the exam or the structure of the exam. I'm just talking about from like studying. Don't ask questions the day before the exam.
Oh yeah.
Because all that does is let us know that you haven't looked at it except the day before the exam.
Yep.
Yeah, that one's a biggie.
Oh, okay. Is that your pet peeve? You rolling with that one?
Well, no, I was following you up on that one. No, mine is my second one. Would be don't sit in class like a bump on a log. When especially if I'm the type of person, I like discussions, I like interactions, I like that engagement with the students. So I tend to ask a lot of questions, expecting answers and questions to come back. And when you're sitting there typing on your computer, not paying attention, not participating in class, that's a quick way for me to not write you off, because we're not in the business of doing that. Like, that's not our profession. But at the same time, I'm not going to take my energy and my focus away from the students who are trying to get you to try. You're kind of on your own if you're gonna follow that. And I usually tell students, at the beginning of class, there's really 2 situations, at least in my opinion. There are 2 situations in which the teacher learns your name early. There's 2 reasons. One's a good reason, one's a bad reason.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to be on the bad reason. So an early way for them to get to know you, understand, the effort that you're putting in, and to get to know your name, participate. have that. Go ahead and start establishing that. That would be my number 2. Is just don't just sit there. Don't look at it as you're checking a box because you're there in attendance. You need to be there mentally too.
No, that one's really good, because I can't tell you how many times in my class I've thought to myself, why are these students even here?
Yeah.
They're not engaging. They're not listening. They're zoned out. They're definitely getting nothing from this. So why even show up? I mean, I've, in many semesters and many years, I've had classes where there was no attendance policy. So why even show up?
Yep.
I mean, is that just for the off chance you might hear something might slip through the cracks, right, and you'll that you really need to know, and somebody will really make a fuss about it in class, so that'll help you? I never understood that.
Yeah,
so.
me either.
This goes into the category of pet peeve. Okay. Don't ask for special consideration unless it's medically warranted.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to extend the time for you to turn in the assignment. I'm not going to give you the chance to make up the exam. I'm not going to give you special consideration, no matter how much I like you, because it's not fair to others, and I'm very much an equity fairness person, right? So, and I get it all the time. People tell you I forgot about this. I just worked so hard, and I had this family matter, and I had this, and I just couldn't turn in the assignment. I'm like, the assignment was assigned 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do. It was in the syllabus since the very beginning of the semester. So the fact that you were busy the night before and couldn't sit down for an hour and turn in some shoddy work the night before, I'm not going to extend the day. You just missed the assignment.
I had a situation. I was actually going to ask you about this, but I had an email come from a student the other day, and he was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know, the week after spring break, I'm not going to be here. I want to go ahead and kind of get set up. If there's any things that I need to get done, I can get done. If I can reschedule it afterwards or whatever. But we have a family vacation coming up."
Mm-hmm.
And all I can think of, I'm not going on vacation. I don't get to vacation. You might want to make sure, and it's online too. It's not like it's in class. They have to come to class. This is an online class.
Like, what the assignments are. Just get them done. Get them done today. You could finish out all your semester assignments today. Now, you may not know how to do them yet, but because you haven't learned the material, but get them done now.
Yeah. My next one is, again, still a pet peeve of mine, that it's a quick way for me to know what type of, and a lot of this stuff is just to quickly know what type of student you're going to be. Don't show up late to class or have to, stand up and leave early unless you tell the professor ahead of time. You may email them and say, "Hey, look, I've got this appointment. I need to leave just a little early, so that's why." That's fine. I love that because you're letting me know. But really, it's more of the showing up late, because you're disrupting class. You're disrupting everybody. You're disrupting the flow of the class. Naturally, when the door opens, everybody turns, and it kind of just breaks the attention. And it just, to me, it shows, a lack of respect, and not just, obviously for the professor, but for the students too. If you can't make an 8:00 class, don't sign up for an 8:00 class.
You're robbing some of the other students of, what they've paid for, right? Yeah. You're detracting from their experience. I've had guest speakers. The only time I really say something about it, I hate it when people do that, but I've had guest speakers in my classes before. They're up there presenting, and students come in late, and I'm like, you knew the guest speaker was going to be here, and you still show up 15, 20 minutes late to the class and interrupt once they've gotten into their spiel, whatever they're doing. And I've had even students before that walk into the classroom, and instead of just kind of easing down the side of the wall and finding a seat in the back, just bebop like they own the place right in front of the speaker. Yeah. I can barely get through. I get so upset about that. It's everything I can do not to make a scene then and be like, "All right, you're out.
Yeah.
You're gone." Like that's so unprofessional. You're not even staying in here, so you're out.
And I could take it one step further because, talking about this, when they show up 15, 20 minutes late, then they ask questions that we've already gone over.
I know.
Oh,
that's the worst.
That drives me absolutely crazy. That's a huge pet peeve of mine. If you have questions, and you show up late, at least have the courtesy to come see me maybe after class or shoot me an email. Not interrupt and us have to go back through. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that one I would say, make sure you're on time. Oh, and don't use the excuse I couldn't find parking.
Oh,
that's not my problem.
We park too.
Yeah.
It's the same scenario.
So, all right, what's your next one?
So this will probably be my last one, and I'm gonna give just an overarching. Everybody's got their way of doing it, but if you act professional about the class, you approach the class as being, I want to learn something from this class, or I want to achieve something by taking this class. Even if you come up to me and tell me, I am not interested in this class, I don't like this subject matter at all, but I care about my grades for this reason, either career-oriented or future, graduate school-oriented or accolade-oriented or whatever it is, you tell me these things. I respect that. I still know your objectives and what you attend in the class. So if you make this known to me that, hey, I'm going to approach this class in this manner, that is extremely professional. I know your expectations. I can adjust my interaction with you towards those expectations. If you don't act professional, and those are all the things that we've talked about before, not reading the syllabus, not paying attention in class, not engaging at all, not doing your assignments, all of these things are examples of being unprofessional. But other things, showing up on time, obviously we mentioned, not dressing appropriately, okay?
Yeah.
Just speaking out of turn, laughing, being a distraction to the class, so my big thing is, you want to get on my good side, show me that you're a professional, and no matter what, no matter your personality type, you don't have to be super gregarious and want to chit chat about things outside of class or talk about whatever's going on in the world or, whatever we're interested in. I'm interested in tennis and college football. Those are my hobby things that I like to talk about. None of that matters, right? Act like a professional. You'll be treated like a professional, and honestly, be thoroughly on the professor's good side.
That's a really good one. I don't have that one on mine. Like you said, it's overarching. So, but that's a really kind of good collect all. I don't have any major ones left because we've pretty much hit the four that I had. I do have some honorable mentions, I would say, which are smaller. One, for the love of Pete and all things holy, do not at the beginning of class ask about extra credit.
Yes.
Don't. That's a. If you're asking about extra credit before you've put any effort into the normal credit, you're already in trouble.
That's a good one.
Another one, and I actually had this for the first time come up naturally because we're, the times that we're in, the technological advances that we're in, with, AI, one of the big ones being Chat GPT. I did get my first email that was created by Chat GPT, and it wasn't like I could discern if it was AI written based on the wording. It was very, very eloquent, very professional. But at the bottom, it said sincerely and then put your name. The guy forgot that the student forgot to put their name where it says your name. So I knew it was copy and pasted. And then he emailed me really quickly and put his name. So, proofread, maybe that would probably be a better.
Well, he stood a good chance of you not noticing
of course.
If he hadn't immediately re-emailed, right? You saw the email address, it comes up as a student name.
Copy and paste.
You would have probably just read it really quickly and never looked at his name.
Absolutely. And when I read sincerely your name, I'm thinking, okay, cool, thank you.
Was it an assignment?
No. It was just asking. I think it was asking about. Maybe that was the student that was telling me about the family vacation. I can't remember exactly who it was, but it
Mhm.
was asking about upcoming stuff and wanting to make sure like you get the emails. It's like, I'm going to be out this week. Am I going to miss anything? And part of me really wants to like email this person back and be like, are you going to miss anything? No, I'm learning now that you're not going to be there. So I'm going to shut down class because, if you're not there, then we just can't, progress through because yeah, you're going to miss stuff. It's in the syllabus. It's already showing what you're going to be missing. So there's no point in emailing me, asking me, are you going to miss anything? So, those kind of things. Did you have any honorable mentions, smaller ones?
Well, so I'm trying to think of things that have come out. So I've routinely had, this is only with guys who are usually athletes who know that I've, used to play sports and very interested in sports. They would come up and try to create a buddy relationship with me that you knew was incredibly contrived,
Yeah.
just so that perhaps you wouldn't grade them as difficult, as to the standard, or you would give them special consideration. And without fail, I knew when they were doing it, they would always come back later and ask for special consideration. And then when I'd have to tell them no, that was when they all of a sudden didn't want to talk to you anymore. It was like you hurt their feelings. Like, hey, I thought we were cool in some way. Like, just because we share interest in the same sports teams does not in any way mean I'm going to give you special consideration in this class. And yes, I'll smile and talk with you all day long about whatever is of interest if we share that interest, right? As long as I have time. But no. So I had that all the time, and it was as frustrating as anything. And I got to where I could pick it out at the beginning of the semester.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this guy's definitely the one who's going to try to get special favoritism by, it wasn't as if I didn't know. I just prepared for being ready to tell them no.
Yeah. One that came up to my mind is if you're on a Zoom, if you're on like online and you're meeting on Zoom or Teams or whatever, don't turn your camera on and then turn your camera towards the ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
That drives me crazy.
And if you want to be a professional, period, turn your camera on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just you don't have to be embarrassed about anything. If you don't, your hair's not done or you whatever. No, that I'm not talking about that. I just want to be able to see your eyes and be able to interact and see that you are listening to the material. There's a lot to be read from facial expressions as to how the material that your discussions are being received. So give us that, right? Don't be the person who hides behind their profile with their camera off. I know it's more convenient for you, but if, once again, we're talking about endearing yourself to the professor. If you do wish to endear yourself to the professor, there you go. There's a easy way to do it.
Yeah. And just pay attention. Yeah. That's one thing when class is over, you have those 2 or 3 students who aren't on camera, but the camera's showing, and they lag behind because they haven't realized that class is over.
Mm-hmm.
That's a quick way to get written down is they're not paying attention, and that professionalism grade or whatever, it goes down.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Well, this has been a fun episode. I've loved this, and I'm pretty sure there's other tips and tricks, but these are the ones that came off the top of the head. You got anything to say before we head out?
Nope, that's it. Just remind everybody, hey, if you like our stuff, share it with people. Give us those stars on the podcast app. Of course, our website's the best place in the world to reach us. Check out our old episodes and stuff. But other than that, just, spread the word.
Yeah, we're coming up on 100, episode 100.
Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
Almost two years worth of doing episodes.
That's crazy. Well, we hope you enjoyed the show. We hope to see you next time. Until then, goodbye.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Reschool'd podcast. Be sure to head over to reschool'd.com for news and other information on things we're getting into.